We live in an extraordinary paradox. By almost every objective metric, technological advancement, medical capability, global wealth, access to information, and physical safety, the modern world is better off than at any previous point in human history. Yet, despite all of this material progress, anxiety rates are soaring. Depression is rampant, loneliness is an epidemic, and millions of people feel an overwhelming sense of hopelessness. Why are we so miserable when everything around us is so comfortable? Why does it feel like everything is falling apart even when things are objectively improving? Welcome to Book Essence, where we unlock the essence of every book so you get the wisdom without spending weeks reading. Today, we are breaking down Everything is Effed, a book about hope by Mark Manson, the best-selling author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. In this deeply insightful, counterintuitive book, Manson dives into history, psychology, philosophy, and neuroscience to dissect the nature of human hope, why our pursuit of happiness backfires, and how we can navigate an increasingly chaotic world with maturity, self-awareness, and resilience. Let us unlock it. Section 1. The Paradox of Progress: Why We Feel Hopeless. To understand the crisis of modern despair, Mark Manson introduces what he calls the paradox of progress. Imagine living a few centuries ago. Life was brutal, short, and filled with immediate physical dangers: plagues, famines, cold winters, and war. Back then, hope was easy to define. Hope was the belief that tomorrow you might have enough bread to eat or that your family would survive the winter. The difficulty of physical survival gave people clear, tangible goals to strive for. Fast forward to the modern era, we have automated our survival, eliminated most extreme physical hardships, and created an abundance of comfort and entertainment. But this comfort created an unintended psychological side effect. When physical threats vanish, your brain does not become calm and content. Instead, your brain lowers its threshold for what it considers a crisis. Manson explains that human happiness is not determined by objective reality, but our expectations. As life gets safer and easier, our expectations for comfort soar even faster. Consequently, minor inconveniences, small disagreements, and trivial setbacks feel catastrophic to our mental operating system. We have exchanged physical suffering for existential dread. When everything is easy, you lose the sense of purpose that comes from overcoming meaningful struggle, leaving you feeling hollow, anxious, and hopeless. Section 2. The thinking mind versus the feeling mind. Who is driving the car? Why is it so hard to act rationally, break bad habits, and stay hopeful? Manson illustrates the internal mechanics of human decision-making using a brilliant metaphor: the thinking brain and the feeling brain driving the car. The thinking brain represents logic, reason, mathematics, long-term planning, and data. It's slow, deliberate, and analytical. The feeling brain represents emotion, instinct, desire, fear, passion, and impulse. It's fast, powerful, and reactive. Most people naively assume that the thinking brain is driving the car of their life, while the feeling brain is just a passenger sitting quietly in the back seat. But modern psychology and neuroscience reveal the uncomfortable truth: the feeling brain is always driving the car. Your thinking brain cannot directly control your actions. It can only offer suggestions, draw maps, and present logical arguments to the feeling brain. If the feeling brain doesn't feel like following the advice, it simply grabs the steering wheel and drives wherever it wants, towards the tub of ice cream, the infinite social media scroll, or the angry outburst. This is why purely intellectual arguments rarely change human behavior. You can't argue your feeling brain out of anxiety or depression using logic alone. To build genuine self-control and hope, your thinking brain must learn to communicate with, negotiate with, and train your feeling brain with empathy, emotional acceptance, and gradual exposure to meaningful challenge. Section 3. The Uncomfortable Truth and Spiritual Religions. At the heart of Mark Manson's exploration is a psychological reality he calls the uncomfortable truth. One day, you will die, everyone you love will die, and eventually, everything you have ever built or accomplished will fade into complete insignificance. Human beings are the only creatures on Earth capable of realizing their own mortality and ultimate insignificance. This realization creates immense psychological terror. To escape the dread of the uncomfortable truth, the human mind instinctively creates hope. Hope is the belief that our lives have meaning, that our actions matter, and that the future can be better than the present. Manson argues that to maintain hope, every person constructs what he calls spiritual religions, frameworks of meaning that justify our existence. These spiritual religions fall into three distinct categories. First, traditional religions, believing in God, an afterlife, or divine karma. Meaning comes from serving a higher power and obeying sacred laws. Second, ideological religions, believing in political movements, nationalism, capitalism, communism, or social justice. Meaning comes from fighting for an earthly cause or transforming society. Third, interpersonal religions, believing in romantic love, fame, wealth, career success, or personal achievement. Meaning comes from validation, status, or devotion to specific individuals. While these forms of hope keep us motivated, Manson issues a serious warning. When hope becomes fanatical, narrow, or fragile, it turns toxic. Toxic hope causes us to demonize anyone who disagrees with our religion, leading to division, tribal conflict, and extreme anxiety when our beliefs are threatened. Section 4. The Newton's Laws of Emotion. Just as Sir Isaac Newton established laws governing physical motion, Manson outlines three psychological laws that govern human emotions and self-perception. First law of emotion: for every action, there is an equal and opposite emotional reaction. Whenever you experience pain, trauma, or injustice, your mind experiences an emotional deficit. If someone hurts you, your brain registers a gap in value. To restore balance, your feeling brain instinctively seeks retribution or creates a narrative to explain the pain. If you fail to process the pain maturely, your mind creates an enduring value gap, leading to chronic feelings of unworthiness, victimhood, or resentment. Second law of emotion: our self-worth equals the sum of our emotions over time. Your self-esteem is not built by standing in front of a mirror repeating positive affirmations. It's built by your history of emotional experiences. When you consistently avoid challenge and give in to short-term impulses, your feeling brain learns that you are weak and unreliable. Conversely, when you face discomfort, honor your commitments, and endure pain for a higher purpose, your self-worth rises naturally. Third law of emotion: your identity will continue to act in alignment with your beliefs until acted upon by an equal and opposite emotional force. Once your feeling brain adopts a specific story about who you are, for instance, I am bad at relationships, or I am an anxious person, it will actively seek out evidence to confirm that identity. Reason alone cannot shatter a false identity. Only a powerful, contrasting emotional experience can rewrite the stories you tell yourself. Section 5. The Formula of Humanity: moving beyond low-level hope. If modern comfort breeds anxiety and traditional hope often turns toxic, what's the alternative? Manson turns to the classical philosophy of Immanuel Kant to present a mature, resilient path forward. Kant formulated what he called the categorical imperative, or the formula of humanity. Act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, never merely as a means to an end, but always at the same time as an end. Manson breaks down human psychological development into three distinct stages based on this principle. Stage 1, the child, bargaining. The child operates entirely on transactional hope. If I'm good, will I get a reward? If I follow the rules, will you love me? This is a low-level, self-centered existence driven purely by pleasure and pain. Stage 2, the adolescent, group identity and fanaticism. The adolescent moves beyond personal transactions to adopt group rules, ideologies, and peer approval. However, the adolescent still treats values as a means to an end. I will join this group or follow this ideology so that I can feel superior to others. Stage 3, the adult, unconditional action. The true psychological adult acts with moral maturity. An adult does not do the right thing to get into heaven, win approval, avoid punishment, or gain status. An adult does the right thing simply because it's right. Manson argues that mature hope requires us to stop bargaining with life. We must stop expecting life to reward us for being good people. Instead, we must embrace unconditional virtue, treating people with honesty, dignity, and respect regardless of the outcome. Section 6. The Anti-Fragile Mind, Embracing Discomfort. In a world designed to eliminate all friction, pain, and discomfort, we have made our minds psychologically fragile. When you protect a muscle from every form of tension, it atrophies. Similarly, when you protect your mind from every form of discomfort, insult, and difficulty, your spirit becomes weak. Manson advocates for building an anti-fragile mind. Anti-fragility, a concept popularized by Nassim Taleb, describes systems that do not merely resist stress, but actually grow stronger when exposed to shocks, volatility, and pain. To cultivate an anti-fragile mind, stop pursuing endless happiness and comfort. Realize that comfort is what made you fragile in the first place. Voluntarily seek out meaningful struggle. Cold showers, rigorous exercise, difficult conversations, deep work, and learning complex skills force your feeling brain to adapt and mature. Embrace pain as an essential signal for growth. Pain is not proof that something is wrong with your life. Pain is the raw material from which character, wisdom, and resilience are forged. Instead of hoping for an easy life free of problems, hope for the strength, wisdom, and character to handle difficult problems with grace and maturity. Section 7. Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Feeling. In the final chapters, Manson addresses the rise of technology, algorithms, and artificial intelligence. He raises a striking question about where humanity is headed as our technological capabilities explode. Today's digital algorithms are designed to exploit our weaknesses of our feeling brain. Social media feeds, news networks, and entertainment platforms cater to our lowest emotional impulses: outrage, fear, vanity, and instant gratification. They offer endless hits of cheap dopamine while robbing us of deep human connection and critical thought. Manson warns that if we continue to outsource our choices to machines that feed our worst instincts, we risk devolving into passive consumers incapable of adult self-governance. However, there is a counter-possibility. As artificial intelligence takes over logical calculations, data processing, and administrative labor, human beings will no longer be valued for their efficiency. Instead, our ultimate value will lie in our ability to feel deeply, display authentic empathy, uphold moral principles, and practice unconditional humanity, the very things machines can never replicate. Conclusion. Final takeaways. Let us bring together the greatest lessons from Everything is Fucked, a book about hope by Mark Manson. 1. Recognize the paradox of progress. Physical comfort does not automatically equal mental peace. Stop expecting life to be free of friction and accept that meaningful struggle is essential for well-being. 2. Unite your thinking and feeling brains. Do not fight your emotions with rigid logic. Listen to your feeling brain, accept its feelings, and lead it toward positive action through empathy and daily habits. 3. Beware of toxic transactional hope. Stop bargaining with life. Do not perform good actions merely to receive rewards, status, or cosmic favors. 4. Practice unconditional virtue. Strive to reach psychological adulthood by treating yourself and others as ultimate ends, acting with honesty and integrity simply because it is right. 5. Build an anti-fragile mindset. Embrace pain, difficulty, and discomfort as fuel for character growth rather than evidence of failure. Mark Manson leaves us with a liberating message. Do not hope for a world without suffering, conflict, or pain. Hopelessness is not cured by chasing endless comfort or grand illusions. Hopelessness is cured by letting go of your demands on the universe, facing reality as it is, acting with unconditional integrity, and finding meaning in the here and now. That is the essence of Everything is FUCKED. And that's what we do here at Book Essence. We take the world's most powerful books and unlock their wisdom, so you can build something real starting from exactly where you are. If this script brought you value, share it with someone who needs clarity and perspective today. Keep reading, keep reflecting, and keep unlocking your essence. See you next time.